You're live. Yeah, with me. Yeah, with me, Elkanah, DRK, VPR. Call me Sahir. Call me Yasha. Call me Shotakuna. Call me Enshui. Or just call me Frank, because they all mean the same thing. I'm Frank, and you are with me at this media event. It's live. It's the course itself is a 4-part course. The title of the course is called How Inspiring Hip Hop Arts Influence Society and Culture. Now this is like the third. I'm a little bit late. I was supposed to start this at 9 o'clock this evening. I had other stuff to do. It was almost at the end of 9 in the evening, pardon me. It's coming up to 10 o'clock. And this course itself is titled How Does Hip Hop Advantage Culture? So, how does hip hop advantage culture? Well, let's think. You familiar with what a cultural pig is, right? Yeah. A cultural pig in society is like remarks that skive, like visceral remarks. So they're like deep wounding remarks. Yeah, racism is of a cultural pig, and sexism's of a cultural pig, stuff like that. It's basically, so yeah, inequalities, someone like who has no other regard but the regard to remark like, or make remarks like a cultural pig. It's the like, it's the person who has nothing else to say but like, prejudice things, hateful things that are like discriminatory and that, derogatory remarks and that of a cultural pig, someone of like rhetoric, really, in a purpose of like hip hop arts and that, and hip hop literature and stuff, is of inhumanity. Yeah, someone who's like inhumane and that. Um, so what else are they known for? What are culture pigs known for? Um, in culture itself, like, a lot of emphasis and focus with like heavy emphasis has been put on, like in hip hop, it's been put on like the martial arts, like karate and kung fu, to kind of like the gangsterism of like criminals and that. There are also like other things like stardom and that as well. That's very prominent, within a hip hop culture for purposes of art itself and its literature, within culture. Do you see the differences? Do you see the how symbolic a lot of these like derogative references are, and that within the point of like hip hop arts and the culture? You think on like things like fear especially, it's a big one for me. And it just does it throughout haters and everything I mentioned already in terms of like sexism and racism, everything, the ignorance and that, like fear's like the biggest one, in terms of like reactions, demands, the lack of like social justice or like social injustice and stuff like that. Yeah, a really big one. And like all the drugs and that, and drug references and everything, or like pimps and gangsters. Throughout the history of like Black America and their struggles, as well as here in Britain, as well, and other countries around the world, in imagery and everything, forefront with the hip hop arts and culture. Imagery is like a really big one to see like black people doing well and how other black people as well as white people hate it and that or fear it. It's been very prominent since the 80s, like especially for like me, paying attention formally and that within my interests in the hip hop culture and hip hop arts and the movement. So obviously, like pigs, well, pig is another one because there's so much more to a pig than a cop. There's so much more to it, yeah. So much more to a pig than the likes of a cop or even a bad cop, at that matter. But symbolically and stuff within the arts and the culture, imagery's forefront. In how I understand it, and within matters of the industry itself and that as well, and how the issues, how problems and trouble is delegated within the Congress of the industry, complexities really, like, and in terms of like how society interpret it and their thoughts and feelings about it. Complexity, definitely complexities, and ambiguous as well in the likes of some, who don't really disambiguate it properly. And that, a lot of animal references and people being compared to the likes of animals, and that obviously with the like on dog as well. Besides, dog's a big one, but a lot of like animal references are like metaphorical analogies, and that where it within contrasts of what's being conveyed, within contrast of what's being conveyed, the kind of like where they juxtapose everything with comparatives and that, and like it's to do with like expectations. It's to do with what's already known or and established or found to be within life, and to like not necessarily even the norm. It's not really meant to be like in the point. 'Cause a lot of it's to do with like it's the reactions and demands of rights, and in complaint, and in risque, tongue in cheek, the kind of like to like in speaking figuratively about it, the problems, the issues, the troubles, the ills, and to think. So how did it, in the circumstance of that and the like hip hop arts and its influence and that within its capabilities to like inspire people, how does hip hop, let's have a look, how does hip hop advantage culture? Well, for me, speaking, I'm not ready to look at that. Awareness is a big thing. So like they're like conveying what's up, yeah, period. That's all they've ever really done, right? Within reactions, demands, their rights and that, to complain or whatever, or like make issue, however they see fit and that, without fear of being misunderstood. although you might not even care if they are misunderstood. Like, interpret it however you want to interpret it. You know, they're just rappers anyway. It's a whole some rap, isn't it? So like, I can see that I've come up at the very top. How does hip hop advantage culture? I'm right at the top there with the live stream I'm doing right at the moment on Google. I've been indexed, and my channel's live vids right up there as I'm making it. And that, how does hip hop influence culture? Right. So hip hop, it's more than music, right? Like, and it wakes you up. You should be woke on like listening to hip hop. You should be realised and that and aware and like what's up and that. So like, it's full, it's vibrant, it's culture, right? And since the 80s, hip hop has influenced and uplifted America, Britain, Europe, like all over the world, out into like Australia and like Asia, right? Speaking up for generations, yeah, speaking up, standing up for what they believe in and stuff like that, providing a voice for the people, for the marginalised populations. For right, in opponents of hip hop culture, they argue that the music is aggressive in nature and promotes social rebellion. Right? So, right, getting into that, this is all where the indexing is, right? What are the advantages of hip hop music? Hip hop it has extensive positive benefits, right? That's what's been going on. That's what's up in terms of what the influence and the inspiration that is given to society, right? And allows artists to speak about problems, right, in the world, like injustices, crime, or poverty, you know? It also helps with exercise by allowing a participant to accomplish aerobic and anaerobic benefits. So like that's in the respiratory system and breathing, breath control, stuff like that. In the intonation, you know? Delivering and like poetic conveyance. And furthermore, hip hop helps like with therapy. Of course it does. Of course it does. As long as you like can like you have self-control, as long as you have self-control over your anger. Because a lot it's like it makes it angry. It's like emotive and that it's emotional. They give you feelings. That's what it's all about. That's all hip hop ever did for me. It was like give me feelings. Right. So, why is hip hop important to youth culture? Why is it important to youth culture? As culture, hip hop can allow learners to become more engaged in more ways that mean more to them. Yeah, even in adult learning, it's the same thing. As a topic, hip hop can be like hyper relevant. Yeah, so like relevancy. So like, yeah, sure. Hip hop and arts and its culture extremely relevant and within what's proportionate to like what you know they're stating and their topics and subjects. Hip hop, right, is about making music. So it's music making, right? It's an act of creating conscious hip hop. It can be empowering, engaging, and enlightening, right? To not just children or youths, but to adults as well. So and then it goes into like the culture and when it beginning in the 60s. Obviously, I took my point in the 70s, but I have mentioned the 60s as well. Obviously, I got into hip hop in like 1985. When I was like 9 years old with like the Beastie Boys and Run DMC and that, and De La Soul. So like 1985, and then obviously going into Public Enemy. So like, going into like how the scene has crossed over into dance music and so on, and as its roots in like the bebop, swing, and jazz and stuff, it's like integrative music, fusion music, world music, right? And that it's complex because I'll say about complexities and ambiguities. It's complexities, even like the consumerism of the like movement and culture is full of complexities. So like, and as a movement within artistry from artists themselves and the producers. So right, is it good for society? Well, I think it is, but in an idiot, probably not. So like, Hip hop has been vital in promoting social and political awareness among the youth of today. Right, it's important in making the youth aware of the world around them and the conditions that they face. So, like, hip hop culture is changing the world. This is more where I'm going from the adult learning perspective of arts therapy, because it's what I do within my mixed media publishing at the Sincere Community organisation, which is like my own company. So, like, hip hop has influenced society in a positive way, expanding around the world, changing lives. Kids living in the projects needed some motivation to get up and follow dreams. Right, now this is my philosophy all over again. The philosophy of caring and motivation, or have it the other way around, motivation and caring. This is like paramount. This is like, of my synopsis that I do, because I'm still doing my open masters at university, the Open University. I'm still doing my open masters, but if I turn my postgraduate, by the time I finished it, into like a thesis and was doing a PhD, this is precisely where everything is going. It's all going into the thesis, yeah, of my and the antithesis or antithesis of my thesis, which is all about the philosophy of caring and motivation. Or philosophy of motivation and caring. It's the same thing. And this is what I built all of my speech and behaviour around. I've oriented everything around all of this, and my beliefs and my faith, even as a Christian, and that every aspect as an entrepreneur, and that as an artist, as a therapist. This is where I'm going with all of it as an electorate, as a voter, and that as a citizen, and that as an earthling, yeah, of the world. It's Earth Garden that I'm from, in Earth and everything, on this planet, in this universe. It's everything. It's all rooted within the foundations, every branch of knowledge and everything, and behaviour and speech that, right, is oriented and rooted within the foundations of this philosophy, right? And obviously being sincere with it. This is where I'm going, not insincere, but sincere. So, hip hop helped many kids, right? Not just kids, but adults as well, right? To get up and get on with life, and build on a startup. A startup is a startup of any startup. A startup like Cornbread, the graffiti artist, as far as startups go, and like and expand and develop on that whole critique. Yeah, this like makes me think I like my tag partner when I was like at school, and that the kid I used to rap with at school, my mate Chris, and that who was like, he'd call himself Cree and that, and Stray and Guess. He had like a few names. I had a few, and that I was like Bold, Wisdom, and that stuff. Obviously, and then being frank, but like this is like, and this is how we were. And we were like, although we weren't orphans, we had parents and that, however, like broken families, whatever, but in divorces and whatnot. But because both our parents were divorced, but at the end of the day, and still alive, but we still refer to ourselves as the orphans. DA and orphans with a Z. Yeah, not an S. The orphans. And that's like us from like freaking 89 to like 1992 when we were like 17 and or about to be 17. Like that's how we held it down, like, or say 92, 93 even, to like 93, and then we like separated and went off to do other projects and do other things. I went to join other bands and that. I was getting more into my guitar and everything and that, and doing stuff with like live bands and stuff and singing a bit. But like, and we went off to do other things, and then we got we hooked back up. We got back together like in 1999, and we had that like he was up mine. He saw me DJing at a local pub and that down in the cellar, and he just tagged back. He come back to the flat with me and stayed with me, and we hooked up. And I hadn't seen him for years and everything. And it was like 1999, about to be frigging Y2K millennium and that. And everything, and he stayed like all night, and we stayed out, and then we just freestyled all day, and we made a really sick tape. It was so good to catch up with him. I've not really seen him since. And then he moved back because they know that he moved around. He went to like London and he met up with some woman who was older than him with a couple of kids and that. And he settled down with her. But like, that was like my man. It takes me back. Yeah, we used to call ourselves the Orphans, although, and that. And we were just up straight as a die with it. We were open and honest about it. We're like, yeah, but so we're still self-raised, and that we're like self-raised on the whole point of what we're doing in the art and the culture and that for the movement, and that's what we were like about it. And we also had like referred to ourselves as Twisted Styles because we had so many different names and that, and some of us, and we had all these different like inspirations and influences caught up in all our freestyling and stuff, and that and everything. And we were just utilising every bit of everything that we loved out of hip hop, like within what we're doing and that. So like we were like the Orphans, the Twisted Styles, really. And then when we started to get into all the lyrically visual stuff, it's like where we're like trying to like master like lyrics and that, and get the lyricism to like really like depict like full on like every bar was like it's really graphic and that, so we were like lyrically visual. But then it was we weren't hanging out like we used to. I was smoking too much weed at the time as well and that, and then I had other commitments because I had to work now because I wasn't a rich kid or anything. I wasn't rich or anything like that. I was working before I even left school. I was working from the age of 13 and up until I was 26. So I had to do all my like holiday jobs and weekend jobs and that, so everything. Because I ain't gonna get any money like from that. My mum was just a barmaid and a florist until I left school. So like, and if I wanted to like buy hip hop albums and all that, or a new pair of trainers and stuff, yeah, I had to like go out there and graft. I had to go out there and earn some money, like and work. So like, anyway, so from the dance scene and the culture and the developments that took place in New York and that, and out in the West as well, like California and LA and everything, and that throughout the 90s into the millennium and everything, and the R&B scene, that everything that joined in, and how popular hip hop become like in the 90s, boom, all over the world and that, and what it symbolizes and the way to understand it and everything, and what's up with the arts and the culture and all that and the movement and that, and how it's contributed towards social change and social justice and everything, and influence as well as inspiration within like society globally and everything. I think personally like hip hop is like a really healing thing, a really positive thing, and that although it's kind of negative and addresses a lot of negativity and that, and you know, can make you, it can do the reverse in a way, or that it's just there, or the fact that it's just there, like it's present, like you know that that's what's up with it and it is what's wrong and stuff like that. But you know, at the same time, it is like within the therapeutic purpose, and it is healing and that, and you can learn from it, and it can make you intelligent as well and make you talented. So that's what's up with it. That's where I think that it's going, and it's going to continue to advance that way, and the culture will ultimately like develop and be enhanced by it, by it that way, to the likes of, and that, which is a beneficial thing really at the end of the day, because that's where it's at. It's a beneficial thing, and you know, at the heart of it are all those eggs that are to be clutched, and there's all sorts of eggs there to that basket, and that there's a great big hearty basket of eggs, and I love hip hop. I always love hip hop. I love hip hop music. I love the rap music of hip hop. That's that. I mean, I love all music, but my heart's just, I'm set like for life, forever. So, with ultimately the most favourite genre, so that's where it's at. That's what's up, and that's what that was all about. There's my live video. So, how long has that gone on for? 25 minutes? Yeah, that'll do. Thanks for listening to me. Stay safe, stay well, and don't have any accidents, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And that's that, you know. Don't hurt yourself, hurting anyone or anything, or COVIDing the life out of anyone. If you've got COVID-19 and that, or Omicron, then stay home and stay lives. Stay home and save lives, pardon me. Stay home, save lives. And that. Or if you're feeling vulnerable, you don't know what to do with yourself, you've got nothing better to do, stay at home. You know, save it. Have a word with yourself. You're better than that. Be the man. You know. Peace.